okay, okay, go. Okay, 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 go. Okay, 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 go. Okay, 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 go. I got two cups and they twins. I got two bad bitches, they sin. Yeah, I got water and it gotta go splash. I got car and it gotta drive fast. That's my slime, yeah, that's my slime. Yeah, we really rock on the block all the time. Yeah, that beat, ayy, on the block. Till we see the cop and then we dodge the spot. Did your car, cause it was hot. I had to use a fucking snow to hide a rock, but it was melting, that shit was hot. I needed 400 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, 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 go. Okay, 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 so okay, 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 go. Okay, 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 so
Hey yo, Ren, turn that up.
Slick from the block, was born to get guap, and he like everything I know. Them young niggas right there, all they wanna do is shake some. They been rolling around the block, they trying to take some. Old man slick from the block, was born to get guap, and he like everything I know. Them young niggas right there, all they wanna do is shake some. They been rolling around the block, they trying to take some. You see Slicky from the block, we say was raised in hell. Even hustling all his life, he had it hard as hell. He was schooling with the 7 cause he loved the kids, but every time it wasn't right, it was make sure you in class. Young niggas plotting on him cause they wanted his bag, but he had young niggas with young niggas that all they had. But he
What up with it? What up with it? Supreme Beast Boxing Talk. It's your boy Cadillac Red. This is History 101. Now I know y'all usually see the OG Kurt Sugar with me, but this is gonna be another class that we taking in History 101. And I usually take the class by myself with the audience. But KG mission, you know what I'm saying? So we're gonna make sure we get him in the history class as well. I have my OG StormyBman. You here with the Stormy?
I'm here. Salute.
Okay. You here with us, right, KG?
That's right.
All right. So usually when I have the OG Kurt Sugar on, we talk about I want to say promoters and the history in that way. StormyBman is a historian, no doubt about it, but I wanted to go at it with a different angle. So I wanted to do classic fights. And I know he's you know what I'm saying, the Grand Master Sensei. So who else but him to get on the show to do this classic fight? So the first fight that we broke down was Roberto Duran versus Davey Moore. Okay, so OG, break it down for me. How did Roberto Duran get into this spot of a title shot?
Well, Duran was a name figure in the sport since he was at lightweight, and he had defeated Ken Buchanan for the title at lightweight, and by knocking him out inside of 15 rounds. And Duran was a buzzsaw of a fighter who could punch with both hands. He was very defensively sound, and under the tutelage of Ray Arcel, who was his trainer at the time. That, you know, there was recently a movie made about Duran called Hands of Stone, and I would recommend his lead into becoming a family life and everything, and also with Usher playing Sugar Ray Leonard in the film, which he actually did a good job. I was surprised, but mentioning that Duran being the type of fighter, when he decided to move up to the welterweight division, Sugar Ray Leonard was the champion at that time, and he defeated Sugar Ray when they met up. He drew Sugar Ray into a type of brawl that no one had ever seen Leonard fight like, okay? And it wasn't that he beat Leonard up. He got the decision. It was a very close decision. It could have even gone for Ray Leonard. They fought in the what was it, Montreal. They called it the Brawl in Montreal. Okay. To Duran, but knowing Duran's history of how he celebrated celebrated after victories. He would go and little extra weight. He loved to eat steaks and orange juice. That's what he loved because he grew up very poor. So a steak dinner was considered a royalty dinner to Duran. So he made sure he got plenty of that. You know what I mean? But he always had a mean streak in him as a fighter. And when he fought Leonard in a rematch that was 6 months after their first fight, Duran didn't have enough time to really get in the top condition like he was in that first fight. And he was a little bit content after having defeated Leonard that first time. So he thought it was no big deal. But Leonard fought a whole different strategy of a fight in their rematch. He wouldn't stand and slug with Duran. He used a lot of lateral movement. He used the in and out strategy, taunting him, making him upset. And it became known as the no mas fight because Duran just turned away from Leonard and was like, oh, screw you. And Leonard won by a TKO, or Duran quitting or whatever in the ring. I don't think Duran quit like I quit. You know, for a man like himself, it was something that he hadn't dealt with before, and he didn't know how to deal with it. So his response wasn't the best. So they called it the no mas fight. They labeled him a quitter, as they do in boxing, but Duran was no quitter. You can see that by how he went on with the rest of his career after that fight. And the next time he had a chance at a title was against Davey Moore. And Davey Moore, a newly crowned champion in the division, he was the type of fighter like the young upstarts of today. They win their titles and they think they're the baddest man in the world and all of that, but they yet to be proven, right? That's kind of like what happened there. And so Duran, with all of his experience, he got that title shot against Davey Moore, and Davey Moore's camp thought it would be a great name to have on his resume. Yeah, you beat this guy, you know, it'll legitimize you, you know, that kind of thing. But little did he know that the experience that Duran had, and they didn't study Leonard's textbook second fight. You know, they fought Duran the wrong type of way and everything, but it's something that I noticed because as I told you, you know, off air, I watched the fight again. History does repeat itself. You know who's today's Duran? Manny Pacquiao. That's today's Duran. And his defeat of Keith Thurman, it channels what happened with Davey Moore, even though he didn't beat Keith Thurman up as badly as Duran beat up Davey Moore. It really came to me, and I was like, wow, it's interesting when you pay attention. Now, you called me a historian. I don't like to accept that. I accept the sensei because I could break fights down from a coach's point of view and everything, and I leave that historian aspect to guys like Scrapbook and Kurt, you know, Blood Boxing even. But I do break down the fights, and I do have a sense of history of what I've experienced, what I've seen, and I'm able to share that. And that's why I said when I looked at that fight, and now Manny has come up as high as 154, right? He's not going to go beyond that. But Duran went up to 160. You know what I mean? And they were similar in their accomplishments. They beat up named fighters. They've knocked out guys. They've been knocked out. You know, Manny getting knocked out by Marquez was like Duran getting knocked out by Hearns. And he came back and was successful. And so was Manny, right? So there's a correlation here. When you talk about boxing, if you don't study the sport, it's kind of a terrible thing to write people off, or even, you know, adorn people with accolades when you haven't really studied who they are and what they've accomplished. So this whole thing with Moore and Duran, you could see where the Moore camp, they weren't studies. They were quick studies, but they weren't studies of depth of who they were dealing with. And Roberto Duran turned out to have many layers and would have many great accomplishments even after the Moore victory.
Okay, so the Panamanian parfait, many layers on that ass. Believe that. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, check this out.
KG.
Yeah, check this out. I think they StormyBman, I think they had a plan. I think it got disrupted maybe like a minute or two into the second round. Because Duran caught him with a body shot, and it seemed like the distance that he wanted to keep at first, Moore wanted to keep at first, it closed because it's like he wanted to get instant get back. And he felt like he had the dog with him at that point. And then when he wanted to find the distance later on in the fight, Duran wasn't giving it to him. So it was like I think he had it in the first round when he was doing the filling out damn stage. But that second round, I seen that body, it was a hook to the body. Matter of fact, it wasn't even a hook. I think it was a shovel punch to the body. And then he caught him up top and he froze him. And after that, it seemed like Moore was just trying to close the distance.
I'll go you one than that. Before the end of the first round, Duran thumbed Moore in the eye. He thumbed him in the eye, and that disrupted everything. The body shot came because the man was worried about other things. See, this is what I say about being in there with an experienced fighter. You might be a quick study, but if you're not a study of depth, see, Duran was a dirty SOB too. You understand? And he tried to thumb Hagler, you know, which was his next fight after this, believe it or not. The thing about Duran and the thing about like a Manny Pacquiao, you have to understand their body of work, or where they've come from, what they've come through. And you keep all of that as downloaded data when you when you fight these guys, because you have to be smart. You have to have ring IQ. You have to have an acumen of being able to take care under circumstances. See, a lot of guys don't have the experience to deal with certain things. And Moore and his camp didn't have that experience. They were new champions. They were brazen and bravado. And they thought that, like a lot of guys think, I'm strong, I'm muscular, I got a good punch, I'm gonna get him. Duran been hit with good punches before. When you've been knocked down, and Duran got knocked down against the Jesus, he got knocked down against Buchanan, he's gotten up and he's fought back. Hitting a guy, knocking him down, and keeping him down is two different things, right? But at the same time, being knocked down, even being knocked out, it's a part of boxing. Sometimes you get the goose, and sometimes the goose get you. That's what you have to have an understanding of. And young, inexperienced champions don't know that. They just know that they've been whooping other people, but they don't know that just around the corner is an ass whooping for them. See? And good trainers, good managers, great people to put you in a position to be successful, they know these things. That's why in the past, a lot of them wanted fighters to have losses on their records. A loss on the record is not a detriment. It is actually an achievement. It's something else to hang in the closet, as much as those knockouts that you got, or close decisions that you got, or when you had a bad cut and still persevered, or you ended up with a broken hand and you made it through the fight and you still won. All of these things go into what we call now the toolbox. I just use the closet as a metaphor, but it's the same thing. When you file these things, that can't be done to you for the first time again, once you've gone through it. So you understand that this is a part of it. This is what can happen. Now, as you mentioned, that body shot was something to make him fight.
That it did.
You get challenged, manned up, so to speak. It's like they telling you, show me your guts, drop your balls right here. That's the time when you're supposed to get smart. Remember, Leonard did it to Duran in the second fight when Duran was like, come on, let's go. Leonard was like, no, Take this jab and move away. Huh? And so Duran was like, well, he won't fight me. Well, Leonard was adding up points, and Duran was adding up in frustration and ended up being a defeated fighter. See, Davey Moore got drawn into something, but it wasn't advantageous to him. If it's advantageous to you, then you go on in and you do what you do. Or if you have experience, because your experience will let you know, like, okay, this is that point where I don't like to go beyond because I ain't willing to go out on my shield. Okay. So you will pull back, you'll box. But a person who don't know no better, they're going to keep going into that darkness and get hit upside the head and have knots and hickeys and everything. And next thing you know, the lights get dim. See? And that's what happens in a fight like this, where you saw Moore. He went in there with Duran and he tried to battle. He hit Duran with a great right hand at the end of the second round. Just as the bell rang. Boom, he hit him. Actually, it was two right hands, but that first one really nailed him. And Duran just bounced up and down on his toes like, yeah, what? And I'm sure psychologically, Davey Moore was like, damn, that was one of my best right hands. You understand? So if that's your best, what you gonna do now? Turn around, get out the ring, and go home? You have to find a way to get it done, and the way that is you have to build blocks. Now, Duran had already established the building blocks. Davey Moore was now under the auspice of following what Duran's plan was because he didn't have the experience.
Okay, hold on, OG. I'm gonna stop you right there because I know we got to get in depth of the fight. But before we do that, let me ask you this: how did Davey Moore even become a champion? Explain to me that. I mean, I know he was young, he was up and coming. Was he being guided the right way and got the belt that way? Did he earn it? Was it a vacant? You know what I'm saying? Some vacant shit. Was it elevated? Break that down for me.
That's the thing. See, I didn't follow Moore's career track. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't one of those guys that I was in there like that with. But you had titles being vacated and things like that because, you know, remember when Sugar Ray Leonard fought one of those guys had they had a title. He had come back. Was it Kalule? Or it was one of those guys that had the super welterweight title. And Ray beat the guy, but he didn't stay in the game. You know, Ray kept retiring. That's why belts were available. And Hearns was kind of moving up and down through the divisions. So the belt was available, but I wasn't studying Moore's background, and I don't have a lot on that. And I won't lie and try to, you know, say, oh, yeah, well, this was no, I don't know a lot about his background. That's why I called him one of those new titleists and associated it with guys of today. Because when belts become vacant, a guy can pick up a belt, but that doesn't mean he's a champion. He's a titleist, which is two different things. A champion is a man who has reigned. He has the experience at the championship level. A titleist is a guy who's temporarily or currently holding whatever belt that is. And that's what Moore was. But the Duran camp was smart enough to go after the inexperienced guy and understand that by defeating this guy, my hat is directly back into the arena. You see, even after the loss to Leonard, which was, you know, he was kind of shamed after that. So by defeating this young stud, it put Duran immediately back in the game. And as you heard me say, his next fight after that was against Hagler for Hagler's undisputed middleweight title. And he fared very well against Hagler in the fight. 15 rounds he went with Hagler. You understand? And so he got right back into the race and the point of respectability by beating that young stud. But that fight ruined Davey Moore.
I heard.
There are fights when a guy take punishment, you beat all the fight out of him. And that's what happened in that fight. Just like last night, you might have seen it. History repeat itself in that regard with this kid Figueroa. He shouldn't ever fight again. He should never fight again. He shouldn't have shown up trying to do what he was doing last night. If I would have known he's my guy and I known he was doing what he's doing, I would pull him out of there as early as the 2nd or 3rd round and say, hey, man, it's not going to be it for you tonight.
I couldn't grasp what he was doing. I was trying to wrap that around my mind. I was like, you're changing from southpaw to orthodox. You're dang on looking off punches that are not coming, but you're windshield wiping at the same time. I'm like, what is going on?
Dude, it was ridiculous. As I was sitting there watching that in disgust, my expression was like, I just couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? It was like no coach or trainer really sends a fighter out like that. And that's why you have to question the people that was in his corner. It's like, really? They said that like when that last round, he went back to the corner, he was spitting up blood or whatever. Maybe he had some internal injuries, maybe not. Maybe it was just inside his mouth or whatever. But you have to say that the way he performed like a guy that did not belong in there. You understand? He looked that bad. And I know he's an accomplished fighter. He has won fights. He has been in there. But that night, the way he came in, the way he went about his work, that was bad for boxing.
Now looking back at Davey Moore's box rank, when he took the fight with Duran, he was like 12-0. He won the title. He did win the fight
knockout streak.
He won the title, and he had a couple title defenses. So, I guess how we said in the beginning, getting Duran is probably the next step that he would probably want to do. But I don't know. I don't think it worked out good for him. To me, what I seen in, I want to say the 3rd round. The 3rd round, Duran hit him with the right hand. It was like the jab right hand. But the way he hit him with the right hand, he hurt him, and he didn't even jump on him. He just smiled. Like, oh yeah, that's gonna be the punch that's gonna knock your ass out later. And I thought that was hilarious.
Experience.
Yeah.
That's experience. Listen, you saw, this is why I love talking boxing. You saw that same type of experience last night in the Erislandy Lara fight.
Mm-hmm.
That kid, Lamana, he got hit with 3 consecutive straight lefts to the mug.
I counted 4.
Lara hit him. Bam. Couple seconds later, bam. Couple seconds later, bam. But the knockout punch wasn't straight down the middle. It came around and caught him on the jaw, and he went to sleep. Experience. Listen, I've seen it in the gym so much where a guy, you can feint a guy. If he bite on your feints, then you'll know what you want to throw after that. But if a guy don't bite on your feint, you have to give him something to bite on. That's what Lara did in that sense. And as you just mentioned, that's what Duran did in that sense. When he realized that he could hit more cleanly, you know what he started doing? Banging the body.
Mm-hmm.
Took his legs away from him. So the next time he hit him with that right hand like that, he either going to go to sleep, go down, or be unconscious, whatever, And turns out that Moore was strong. So the body work was a well investment there. And know how to lose, right? But he hadn't been beaten up before either. That's why I said that fight, all of the fight was eaten out of him. And that was horrible because the referee is responsible for that. There's no way he should have taken the punishment in the 8th round that he did. There was no way. That ref was just looking at that man get beaten like that. And I've seen that before too. And this is why it's like, as a cornerman, what is the cornerman doing? They did throw that bloody towel in there, but the ref didn't even acknowledge it. He just let the man continue to get beaten up. It took a top-rank official to come up and jump up on the apron and stop the fight. The ref was right there. He was the closest man to the action.
Yeah.
That's why I said, this guy, you really have to, hold him accountable. What was his name? Ernesto Magana. That was the referee.
Man, that dude looked like an Elvis impersonator. The movie Cry Baby. He looked like an extra off that movie. Man, he had ill comb over, honky tonk. Man, this dude here, he looked like like back in the day before the interstate came. It was the routes, and it was the diners on the routes. He looked like he was one of the cooks or one of the waiters at one of the diners.
He was horrible, man. He was horrible.
He was in the way. Like yo, it certain times I seen Davey Moore fall on the ropes and then bounce off. Like, you got to call that a knockdown. You got the ropes holding him up. That's a knockdown. You know what I'm saying? That's not a standing hand.
Or stop it, because the guy couldn't even defend himself.
He was hanging on.
I'm trying to give the fighter the benefit of the doubt because he's a champion. Give him the knockdown. Give him the time to 8 count. Let him get it together. You getting your ass whipped after this? You let him know you good. You got to show me something because I'm about to call it. That's what I would like.
Go back.
He was looking to call fouls.
Go back and watch the fight from a technical aspect, and you'll see Duran doing some beautiful things in there as an experienced fighter and former champion. When they were on the inside and Duran was like blazing to the body, right? He was throwing certain shots. The left hook was beautiful to the body because not only was he bringing it around behind the elbow, but he was bringing it around in the front toward the solar plexus and the pit something to either block or come back. Duran was using his arms to push Moore's arms down. And you have to understand, like, when you're breathing heavy and you're fatigued, that's like you're lifting weights, and it's like, and Duran is like positioning him and pushing his arms down and still getting the shots off. It was beautiful inside work. I recently did a show on, working on the inside, and I used Mike McCallum as an example, and Dwight Muhammad Cowie. I wish I would have remembered to put Duran in there for this fight because it was beautiful inside work. Just watch the use of the arms and think that's like experience. And you can learn that in the gym, but it's not being taught anymore. You see, that kid last night that fought Fondura and Cota was fighting him back, and the kid is so tall and lanky that he likes to fight on the inside. But you catch a guy who's experienced at fighting on the inside and relishes that, they're going to knock him out, Fondura, because he gets hit too clean. Yeah, you might like to fight on the inside, but a guy that lures you to that can really pop, that's going to be it for you. You see, he's fighting guys on the way up that he's supposed to beat. But the champions at the top, they've been through that. They know what to do for you. It don't matter how tall or small you may be. They still will put that heat on you. You see? And his people are not teaching him how to fight on the outside because he doesn't box from the outside. So therefore, I say he can't. And if he decides to try in the heat of battle, he's going to be befuddled because it's like you never did it before. And now you're going to try it now because it's under heat and it's too hot for you in the kitchen. So you're going to try to get on the outside? No, it's not going to work that way, bro. You don't build a building from the top down, right? You build it from the foundation up.
They caught up in that groove. He probably hit a growth spurt. And when he jumped up to 6'5", they was teaching him inside working in the phone booth. And he hit up to 6'6". And they was like, well, shit. His daggone training, like I said, I tell all fighters, I say everybody has an expiration date to a certain degree. It ain't no damn love lost. I said, but sometimes it's gonna get to a certain point. Somebody going to teach you but so much, especially if they gonna reach their own ceiling. You know what I'm saying? So it's just yeah. So I'm like
Mike Tyson is 5'11", right? Mike Tyson is 5'11", 5'10", really probably, but he was beating taller guys like James Quick Tillis and Bone Crusher Smith and Tony Tucker and those guys. Mitch Blood Green was 6'3", had fast hands. Mike was still beating those guys because he was taught how to box guys who had reach advantages and stuff over him. The jab and the use of the jab as you're a taller guy, as you're a smaller guy, it's all about timing, okay? You might even encourage a guy to throw something at you so you can do something off of that. You understand? He would draw the punches in. You know, we've talked about this in the past on the Three Wise Men. If you guys haven't had a chance to hear it, I'll just repeat it. Duran used to use tactics in his bouts. Like when you hit him to the body.
I was just about to ask you about this. I was just about to ask you about this, OG, since we talk about styles. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't know this until we talked about this behind the scenes when I was telling OG, you know what I'm saying, KG, I'm like, yo, OG, I want to do Roberto Duran and this. He said, oh, yeah, you going to like this fight because he got a wild little style with him. And then he broke down the style for me. And then when I watched the fight, I'm laughing because I seen it and shit. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, OG, break it down, man. Tell the people what you told me, man.
Yeah, well, Duran used to do little tricks, man. It's like you throw a shot and he can weave the shots, right? He can slip them and make them miss by an inch or two or whatever. But he'd also grunt like, oh, like you hurt him or something. Okay. And of course, you hear that as the opponent, you're like, oh, I got him. Let me go after him more, right? But he's luring you in. When you throw body punches at him, he would grunt, oh, you know, but he wasn't hurt. He was doing that to bait the opponent to stand there because like Leonard wouldn't in their second fight. So Duran developed these little tricks and nuances to get people to do what he wanted them to do. So again, if you watch him and Moore, you could see that taking place. You could see Duran in their clothes looking like he got hurt with something when he really didn't. He took something off of a shot when he rolled or whatever, and then he hits the guy with some snapping power. Pow, pow. And it don't take more than a couple of them to make your legs kind of stiffen because it hurts. You understand? And then he'll lay in there on you or whatever, like, oh, I'm tired, breathing heavy or something. When that's not what he's feeling at all. That's experience, bro. And when you can use that against a young, inexperienced guy, you're taking him to school because he thinking he really doing something. And he going to be right there for you. And you got him. And
you find out his chest at A-checkers.
Yeah.
What about the hair? What about the hair, OG? What about the hair?
Yeah. When he see Ray Arcel, Duran would come back to the corner, and that Ray Arcel was with him at the beginning of his career, right? He would comb Duran's hair in between rounds, every round, and have him looking fresh. And Duran once asked him, he's like, "What? Why are you combing my hair, man?" He's like, "Listen, the guy across from you, every time you come out looking fresh as a daisy, do you know how mad that makes him? Because he's all sweating and hair all over his head and everything, and you coming out looking fresh as the first round." He was like, it's psychological. And so what Duran did was took that and played upon that by like a guy throw a shot, he'll sling his hair around and stuff like that and make it look like he really got caught. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And nothing even landed. But I'm telling you, when you see, if you study history, you study the fights, you learn these tidbits, you can take them and use them for yourself. It's great because if you don't think that it will work, it will. Because most of the fighters of present time, they're not quick, they're not studies of what came before. They just think that because they arrived on the scene, as soon as they were pushed out the womb, they're the it factor. You can ask many of these current champions of today, hey, what do you think about this fighter from 1980 or whatever? They'll be like, who? Huh? They don't know. How are you going to be involved in something that is a life quest, right? And your life is on the line. You do it all the time and not has studied who come before you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can gain knowledge and experience that you don't have to go through, but you can add it to what you're doing to know to keep yourself in a better place. Safekeeping. See, that's dumb. There's no other word for it. Just simply dumb. Because it's there for you. And because you don't take it upon yourself to utilize it, that's your bad. You know what I mean? But there are advantages that you can always carry. You know, there are advantages you could always carry. I heard Ryan Garcia said after his, not this last fight, but his maybe 2 fights ago, when he knocked that kid out in the first round, I think, or whatever. He was like, oh, yeah, that was my Sugar Ray Robinson left hook. Now, he's trying to say, because he knocked the guy out with a left hook, that he emulated, he had studied Sugar Ray Robinson, and he dropped that left hook like Sugar Ray Robinson did. No, he didn't. He just used Sugar Ray Robinson's name, and it sounds nice. But Sugar Ray Robinson can knock you out with a left hook that is thrown on time, that is thrown off a combination, that is thrown while he's moving back. Sugar Ray Robinson had the gift of punch placement even under fire. Ryan Garcia doesn't do anything under fire. He try to time like when he can get there before you or something like that. And you have to understand, he's fighting moderate competition. If he's fighting somebody that could take a punch and give himself manner, because Robinson gave people fits. He could sit on a dime, turn, and hit you when you didn't even know he was getting ready to throw a shot. That's experience as well. But I digress. What I wanted to say about Duran and his left hook to the body, that thing right there was something that Davey Moore, I don't know if he'd ever, experienced that in his career. But it was a telltale punch because it landed almost full volume each and every time. And it had no resort but to stand there and try to fight on the inside, even though that's where it wasn't advantageous for him. Earlier, the way he would throw his head around and everything when this guy was doing certain things, it gave the false impression like, oh, I'm getting him back or whatever. But Duran was breaking him down just like a sculptor, chisel away, the clay or whatever from his piece, and it's going to reveal what the final image is. That's what he did. And you saw the final image of Moore and what it turned out to be. He looked like a badly beaten man.
Yeah, you
that's
got
just, look, yeah, that's just like you were saying, like the balance of today and yesteryear. I felt that watching this fight with even the arena, the environment of the arena, how it was going off. Like today, like we sell out arenas and stuff, well, before COVID and everything. But I think people do it the more so to be seen. Back then, you heard so much energy in there that whether daggone Davey Moore wanted to fight or not, the fans was gonna drive him to damn get in there and dog whether he wanted to or not. You know what I'm saying? And that just played to daggone Durant. So every time he damn got hit, or like you daggone pointed out, not get hit, fans daggone yelled that out. So Davey got pumped. You know what I'm saying? That energy alone was daggone, you know what I'm saying? It's giving me chill bumps right now because that energy, you heard that horn going off. I saw the cops standing in that first row, scuffling with people, trying to keep them seated. You know what I'm saying? It was just, yeah, it was just daggone, they had a lot of shit going on. You know what I'm saying? So that energy alone, so I kind of don't fault the referee, but I still fault him because, like I said, his awareness was low. He wasn't keeping the on track area and everything, but it was so much, it was so loud in there that to the fact that how could you pay attention to everything? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the only thing he has to pay attention to is the fighters. And he had a terrible misunderstanding of looking at a fighter's shape. Moore they could have stopped that fight in between rounds between the 7th and the 8th. He didn't have to come out for the 8th. But his cornerman.
Hold up, OG, hold up. Because that's what I wanted to talk about too. That shit not gonna slide. That shit not gonna slide. In the 7th round, he dropped Davey Moore. Davey Moore gets up, holds on, the round's over. You think Davey Moore's hurt? Roberto Duran goes sits in the wrong damn corner. Now, I'm looking like, why did he just do that? But I'm also looking even more, why did they let him sit on that stool? I would have pulled the stool. He would have failed. Come sit there. Come be there. You the op. You just dropped my fighter. And you think you will come sit on this stool? Get this damn stool from under you real quick. Break that down for me.
I was going to ask, did he do that on purpose?
And let's not forget. And let's not forget, Cadillac Red, that they could see his eye. That eye was closed shut. When a fighter gets thumbed in the eye, that's the thing that'll close the eye faster than anything. You can get hit, punched in the eye, and your eye starts swelling. It'll take a few rounds, but especially with more hits on it or whatever. But when you get thumbed in the eye never stops swelling until it swells shut. And so he was thumbed in the first round. So that means by round 5 or whatever, that eye was closed already. He's still fighting with a bad eye, and he was trying to give account. But at what point do your corner say, hey, man, we're going to have to pack it in? Because listen, it's better. It's easy to say this, right? But it's better to stop it one punch too soon than one punch too late, right? But when you got a young fighter, you stop it sooner because you want to save him. You want him to have something to come back from. Moore never reached that level again after that fight. All of it was beaten out of him, bro. And that's the thing. You have to be able to make that type of judgment call. And it's not a hard call to make when you could see the damage being done. So you had two entities, the referee and the cornerman, who were making an assessment over this. Duran's people were like, even when the fight was over and they were celebrating, they were like, that fight, I had put a comment to the side where I think it was Ray Arcel. He had said something about that fight, and he was just saying simply like they should have stopped that. He said that's the worst ref I've ever looked at for a long time. He said, and even the two Japanese judges in that fight were scoring the fight. They had the fight even up until the stoppage. What fight were they watching? Amen. The two Japanese judges in that night had the fight even outside of a knockdown. Are you kidding me?
Thing is, did they have the same rounds even?
Huh?
Did they have the same round scored the same way? Or since there was different vantage points, was it scored with the rounds, or they just came out?
I didn't look at their cards, but I did take some notes here, and I had wrote that down because they were talking about it. The judges were Kazumasa Kawada and Takashiko Yoshida. Those two judges, they both called 4 of the 7 rounds even.
Yeah.
I didn't see none of that.
4 of the 7 rounds they called even. Think about that. What the hell were they doing?
Hold on, no. In defense, you know what I'm saying? When Roberto Duran get to doing this, he hurt.
I had a coach tell me that too. They said, because look, if my back is to a judge and you do this and my back does that, that's being sold as a punch.
So you can't sell it in the ring to the fighter. Don't think it's being sold outside the ring, though, OG.
I guess Duran was a hell of an actor, huh?
Let me ask you this before we get out of here. You know what I'm saying? Since we talk about the eye, do you blame Dubois for taking the knee and saving himself with his eye being messed up?
Taking the knee, because you don't know what one man feels. You know what I mean? And he may have felt something like he never felt before, and something was wrong, and took the knee out of safety for himself. But understanding that this is a hurt business, this is also why you work extra hard on learning how to move that damn head off center line and slip punches. You don't take them on the face. You don't play tough man, because as Mike Tyson once said, tough people get hurt in this sport. You learn to slip and get off that line, and you don't let the guy, you put your guards up. You don't let people get free licks. And he let Joe Joyce get a lot of them before that eye got in that condition. And then by the time, I can't see or whatever. But we just saw a few weeks ago. We saw a few weeks ago that Ebony Bridges against the girl she fought, you know, her eye was swollen shut too. Huh? But she fought on like a warrior.
Like a warrior. Big titty warrior.
There's other times where guys had an eye swollen shut. Mike Tyson's eye was swollen shut against Buster Douglas, and he fought till he got knocked out. So, I mean, a swollen eye is a part of it, okay? But do I fault him? No, because each person has a different threshold and measure of pain. But you also don't look for excuses and look for people to, have a soft spot for that because you signed up for this. I'm smart enough to have not signed up for that. I don't have to worry about my eyes being closed. But as a coach and a trainer, if I'm working in your corner, I'm going to tell you, move your damn head. You understand? So your eye don't get closed. What's wrong with these UK fighters that don't move their head?
Same.
That's exactly. If you got a good jab, you can beat any UK fighter. If you got a good jab.
And see, I'm glad you broke it down to me like that, because that answered the question for me. In all honesty, Duran poked Davey Moore in the eye and hit it all types of ways to swell it up, and Dubois stayed on the line and got hit with the same punch over and over and over again. So yeah, that does make a lot of sense that way. That definitely does make a lot of sense that way. I'll
add one more thing to that. I'll add one more thing to that. Boxing experience goes this way. Say you're in there, even in the gym sparring, or it could be in a live action match. A guy hits you with a really good shot, and it might do something to you. It might make you rethink life itself, right? You know what you're supposed to do with that? First and foremost, don't let him hit you with that again, right? But you try to do it and get that result. You're supposed to file that in the data bank and say, you know what? That shot really, I'm going to use that shot. Do you understand? That's what it's about. That's what the process is about. And you'll find that there are a number of fighters who don't even consider that. That's why the trainer is supposed to be there to help you with that. You see, you'll hear me talk about it all the time. Poor trainers of today. And because there's plenty of them. But they're the ones that are supposed to be able to help you go to a new level. Look at what Roy Jones did for Chris Eubank Jr. That kid looked good last night. Now, some people were saying, oh, he's trying to fight like Roy. No, what Roy taught him to do, and Kurt Sugar says this all the time. Salute to Kurt Sugar. Roy taught him, Eubank, who was basically a winging brawler, kind of like a larger man, right? Roy taught him to fight with rhythmic and perpetual motion. Move your shoulders, move your head, step around a guy, give him feints. Those are things that Eubank Jr. wasn't doing before. Roy, in the first fight out of their first camp working together, has got him to do that. When he jumped on that kid, Marcus Morrison, yesterday, he put him in peril and damaged him tremendously while he had him up against them ropes, the shots he was throwing and hitting him with. And then what'd he do? Back off of him, step back, and then set it up all over again. That's why he won so easily. There were people in chats out there talking about, well, he still can't beat Charlo. I say, pump your brakes. Because by the time he gets to Charlo, a couple more camps under Roy, as long as he sticks with Roy, what Roy was able to do and the success that they have, those may be building blocks for him to be a better fighter and possibly a champion in the future, as long as he can progress. But that was a tremendous difference in that fight last night than his last fight. And the other guy came out worse for wear. And that kid Morrison can punch. He was a knockout machine. And Eubank Jr. fought him exactly how he was supposed to fight him. So again, when you got guys who listen to their coaches and their training and they try to implement that, and then they begin to have success with it, success brings confidence, and then confidence brings more success. It works hand in hand. That's what I wanted to say about that.
All right. All right. You know what I'm saying? Always a jewel being dropped when it comes to Grand Master Sensei. Believe that.
I caught it though.
Believe that. But I'm always catching the motherfuckers. Believe that, KG. All right, we get out of here on that note. StormyBman, you want to tell the people how they can follow you before we get out of here?
Yes, sir. People can follow me on YouTube. StormyBman is my channel. And we got 3 shows a week we do. We got the Tuesday Tussle, 8 p.m. Central. The Thursday show is the 3 Wise Men of Boxing with myself, Scrapbook Boxing, and Kurt Anderson, a.k.a. Kurt Sugar. That's 8 p.m. Central. And Friday nights, we got the Friday Night Chop Session, 8 p.m. Central. Myself and Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. We cover the week's worth of news in the sport and whatnot and forecast the fights that are coming up over the weekends. And then on Saturdays when we have post-fight shows after the main card events and whatnot. So we always got something going over there. We like people to be a part of that process. The channel is growing, and I want people to be a part of that process. It's like I welcome you, you know, but we keep it boxing over there. That's what we do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Believe that. Believe that. This is always my favorite part. KG, you want to tell people how they can follow you?
That's always something random. You know what I'm saying? First off, man, I want to thank them StormyBman for pulling up on us, man. Much daggone needed, man. Much needed. I'm looking forward to building in the future also. You know what I'm saying? This is my first daggone class in session. I actually sat quiet. You know what I'm saying? I usually don't sit too quiet in class. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But y'all already know how to follow me. You know what I'm saying? The boys renamed me to K_. You know what I'm saying? But they still call me KG though.
Believe that. Believe that. It's been a good one, man. Thanks again, Grand Master Sensei, for coming through. You know what I'm saying? Blessing us. It's definitely appreciated. Hopefully somebody in the chat learned something. You know what I'm saying? They learned something out there. I know we did. It's always a great one. You know what I'm saying? When you slide through and bless us with your presence. On that note, we'll get up out of here.
Have me back anytime. Have me back anytime.
You know we definitely go do another fight. You know what I'm saying? Salute to everybody coming through, showing us love. Salute to the mighty LDBC. You know what I'm saying? This is Supreme D's Boxing Talk. It's your boy Cadillac Red, man. And I'll holler at y'all in a minute. One.